Fuck me. Okay, well, I didn't even make it 4 minutes into the stream without saying "fuck," and I guess talk I was just talking to you guys without saying anything. That's cool. My bad. Okay, fuck. So hey, you guys. Hi, Play Dead, Jason, Poet, Alicia. Thanks, you guys, for letting me know that you couldn't hear me. I was just saying for anybody who's just tuning in for the first time or anybody who's watching the replay, I'm Ashley Love Richards. I'm the host of That's So Fucked Up the podcast. I'm trying to follow YouTube's rules of no swearing in the first 4 minutes. And whew, that is a challenge. So yeah, on my podcast, I talk about cults and murder and other generally fucked up stuff. And I'm excited for the YouTube channel because this is a way that I can kind of connect more with you guys and talk about stuff that I don't always get a chance to talk about on the podcast. Maybe it's not always really relevant. I'm not planning on doing my trauma diaries on the podcast. It doesn't really make sense for that content to live there. So while a lot of my content does live on the podcast, That's So Fucked Up, anywhere you stream pods. Also, you can stream it here on YouTube. There's a podcast playlist. Um, and yeah, so this is where I kind of want to share more about who I am and my experiences and why I talk about the things that I do. Okay, and if you guys notice that I mute my mic a lot, it's because I have like kind of a nervous tick. I'm always like making weird little noises and stuff. So I usually just mute myself if I have to do that. So anywho, today I wanted to talk about panic attacks. And the funny thing is I don't know if I should be here doing this or not, and I'll tell you why. Really quick, I did want to say, um, yikes. Okay, sorry guys. Thanks for sticking with me. Okay. um, okay. So hi to Play Dead, Jason from a Poet, Alicia, Marilyn, Sophia. Thank you guys so much for being here. Totally cliffhanger. Um, So yeah, today I wanted to talk about panic attacks, and yeah, I guess that was kind of a cliffhanger. I don't know if I should. First, I'm going to leave you again on a cliffhanger. I wanted to address this comment from Play Dead that I addressed when I was muted. She says, "Hey Ashley, looking forward to this stream. I have CPTSD and generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and depression. So listening to you makes me feel supported and not so alone. So thank you." Well, thank you for being here because you're supporting me too. If I was talking to myself, I'd feel pretty alone. So I appreciate you guys being here too. Also, something and I just want to qualify, with the beginning of every stream that I do about mental health that I'm just talking from my own experience, from what I've read. I've by no means gone to any professional training to be a therapist, not a trained psychologist. So this is just from what I've learned for going to therapy and shit for a long time. So I wanted to acknowledge the fact that you said generalized anxiety disorder and depression along with the complex PTSD because the thing about complex PTSD is that it can manifest or show itself in so many different ways. So actually before I got my complex PTSD diagnosis, I thought I had everything. I was like, "Oh my god, I have anxiety, depression, PTSD, panic disorder. Although I might have gotten my panic disorder and my complex PTSD order around the same time. I don't quite remember. Hi, Kat. Thanks for being here. And everybody that I know that has ADHD is like, you have ADHD, Ashley. But I hesitate to agree with that because although I do display so many symptoms of ADHD, the thing about complex trauma is it can present as everything. It's wild. I also thought I had borderline personality disorder. People accused me of being bipolar, which irritated me because my grandmother was severely bipolar. So was my father. And like my grandma was suicidal several times. So, you guys are all obviously super sensitive to mental health around here. So you probably know, but it can be so frustrating when people just throw around like mental illness terms, because it's serious shit. So I would just recommend maybe check in with your doctor. Alicia says that's why I was misdiagnosed with attention deficit because of depression and anxiety. Yeah, so as many of you probably know, it often takes women a lot longer to get diagnosed with ADHD or ASD, autism spectrum disorder. So a lot of times women will struggle with just dealing with these symptoms their whole life. And I'm not saying that misdiagnoses that doesn't happen in men. And obviously, I think men's mental health needs to be talked about much more and with a lot more compassion. But complex trauma can present as every fucking disorder in the book. Like Alicia said, pardon me, she was misdiagnosed with ADD because of depression and anxiety. So, I just think that potentially this made me feel really good. My doctor, my therapist, and my psychiatrist both agreed you don't have all that stuff, but we do agree that you have panic disorder and complex trauma. So for me, it was really good to get that diagnosis because it felt a lot more manageable to deal with 2 things than 10. So if anybody is no sound, there's sound now, but you might be behind. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Can I get a thumbs up if you guys are, because there was no sound before. Can you guys hear me? 5 times 5? Is that okay? I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. Thanks, poet. How do you guys highlight who you're talking to? How do I not know this? In StreamYard, you can see the chat and you can press it. That's about the extent of my StreamYard knowledge thus far, but we'll see. So yeah, today this is a space for you to heal and come together. You can talk about anything you want, and we're here for you. Thank you so much. And that's for all of you. I want this to be a safe space where hopefully we can learn and support each other. Because I know that I'm not the only person here who struggles with mental health. So or trauma. So I wanted to do a stream today, and like I said, it's either to my benefit or my detriment, and we'll find out in the morning. I didn't like gussy myself up for this stream. I think like I might have mascara. Like I just wanted to be really real because today I am wearing sweatpants all day, and I did cry in therapy, and I didn't wipe it off, and, so today was my therapy day, which is Wednesdays, and, I I said I had a panic attack this morning and on Monday morning, but I don't get it. It's so out of left field. I feel like things are going pretty good. And then I also shared some frustrations because I'm a very intense person. And sometimes that's received by people a little intensely. And like for me it's really a big trigger when somebody says like they feel like I'm being aggressive because I've often like masked my anger or masked my trauma and pain with laughter weirdly and anger. And so I've really worked on my anger issues. So when somebody's like, "Oh, you're aggressive," I'm like, "Ouch." So, I for anybody who's been on my little journey with me, um, Marilyn, you're beautiful too. And Alicia, yeah, the intensity. Woo! Um, so I have gone pretty buck wild since I did my first stream with Marilyn I think a week ago. This is, I think, like maybe the sixth time I've gone live or something. Because YouTube's all shiny and new, and it's this really exciting place where I get to chat with the audience, and I don't get that kind of engagement on the podcast, because it's just me and my co-host behind a mic, and then it's edited and curated, and it's a very different medium, So I've been super gung ho and I've been like marketing and reaching out to people to collaborate. That's their idea of aggressive, Sophia, is me being like, "Hey, I have all these ideas and I'm really excited about them and I think they could be beneficial for a lot of people." And um I might have said like, and I'll probably be irritated if people don't understand like that this is going to be like such a good idea and blah blah blah. Because I definitely, I will like be the first. I will admit all day that I generally will be like, I have the answer to that, and it's like so right. And if people could just see that, like it would be so much better. And so it's like I kind of struggle with, do I know what the fuck I'm talking about? And then the next day, it's like, no, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's like going to be so frustrating if other people can't understand that. Because like I want to talk about these issues and I want to spread the word as much as possible. And I'm just having to like understand that other people do things at their own pace, which is a pace that probably makes more sense because mine is like pedal to the metal for your own good or detriment. So I'm like YouTube, shiny, new, spreadsheets, pamphlets, outreach, and excitement, enthusiasm. And like when I have cut my hair really short or or actually I took years and years to decide to dye it. Or when I've gotten massive tattoos, I've literally done it that day. I'm like, I'm just gonna call tattoo parlors and hairstylists until somebody says, yes, I'm available to do that for you. Because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right now. Um, and not everybody else is like that. Kat said, I had a big PTSD attack 2 Fridays ago, full on flashbacks. It laid me flat for 9 days. I'm still struggling, so I feel your frustration. I want to be just over this forever. Oh, Kat, something that I get upset about in therapy often is that, why the fuck am I still here talking about this shit? Like, why haven't we moved past? And like, I have made a lot of progress, but like, I'm like, why are we just not past this? And then sometimes she reminds me that changing neural networks that have been strengthened over the last few decades, takes some time. And then I'm like, okay, squirrel. Yeah, 100%. I'm like, oh, shiny. Yeah. And that's why I forget what I'm talking about too. Like a lot of times midstream. Play dead. This is true. I've been through more traumas than I can count. So maybe it's really just the CPTSD diagnosis. Yeah. So PTSD is often like it can happen to a lot of people if you're in a car accident, if you witness somebody else go through um, something life or death or really intense, then you can often people can often develop PTSD from that. And if you get professional help, like it's helpable. And I do believe that, like with doing all the work with the complex trauma, that I will like be free of it one day. And I hope that once I'm free of like the complex trauma triggers and stuff, that I'll have less panic attacks and stuff. But it's such a journey and it's so frustrating. So how long it can take sometime. I love you, Sophia. She's in my Discord. You guys should join my Discord. I'll throw the banner up. So living non-demurely, essentially, such a classic. Yeah, it's just I've always really struggled with, I'm not enough. No, I'm too much. And it's like it's good to say these things out loud, because I know so many of you are probably like, right? It's like I'm either not enough or too much. It's kind of both at the same time. That's always fun. Marilyn said, why some might call aggressive, I call endearing and very motivational. I find use of the word aggressive, aggressive. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marilyn. You're so sweet. Yeah, it's a hard word to hear, I think, especially if you've been historically somebody who's been like told that they have anger issues and like they should work on that or something. Somebody recently told me, you should go to anger management. And I was like, motherfucker, that's what I do every week. It's called therapy. I'm not that angry. I'm really sad. Like, of course, things piss me off, but generally, I find at the bottom of my anger. Oh, and somebody said mentioned this yesterday. It's called. It was they said it was called unpacking the or something. But when you go like, okay, what's beneath unpacking the suitcase? Somebody said that, and it's when you're like, okay, so what's beneath the anger? And it's usually I'm feeling hurt or rejected, or like I'm not enough, or I'm not feeling seen or heard, or some of my trauma has been triggered. Alicia's like, yes, right? I mean, can I get an amen, my fellow sluts? If anybody doesn't know, the first stream that I did with Marilyn, was that our first one, or was our first one about AA? It was our second one. And it's a little segment that I want to call Harlots and Jezebels, about slut shaming. So I said, what's everybody's pronouns? So it could be like slut, skank, hoe, whore, floozy, hussy, harlot, Jezebel, duh. Because like, second time I was called a slut today. I hope in a positive way, because if anybody said it in a not positive way, fuck them. Can you make hand job gestures on YouTube. I don't know what's allowed here. Please smash that like button. Yeah, thank you for the reminder, Marilyn. Any liking and subscribing is super awesome for me. So, yeah. Um, positive, a friend. Yeah, so um I'm gonna be a Jezebel today in honor of Marilyn for being such a supportive fellow hussy. My YouTube journey has been much more easy, and it's her fault really for getting me all enthusiastic, aggressively so. She got me all excited like an asshole. I'm just kidding. And actually, somebody said, Ashley, you should be careful about calling people bitch on your streams. Cause I was like, bitch, but like in a really loving way. So, and I realized that not everybody fully knows my personality, um, yet, or maybe ever, depending on what people watch. So, uh, I'm going to try to refrain from doing that because I realize that not everybody is like thinks that's cool or funny or endearing, and I always want to be respectful to people. And I have like a potty mouth, and sometimes I'm over comfortable. I'm like, you guys are my friends now, right? I'm going to tell you all about my therapy. It's going to be awesome. So actually, back to my therapy. We were today we were doing EMDR, and that's eye movement reprocessing, desensitization, and reprocessing for anybody who has not heard yet. And there's different ways to do it, but my therapist and I do bilateral stimulation and tapping. And I guess that's probably the same thing, but just different forms. So if there's like good positive resourcing that comes up, like I close my eyes and I tap that in, and it's supposed to like tap it into my body or something. Look, I'm not saying that I totally get how it works. And then when we do the trauma, um, there's a blue dot on the screen that I follow with my eyes, and I kind of just okay, we start here, and then we blue dot, and it's like okay, so what came up, and then I'll go through a whole okay, so now I was thinking about this, and it led me to thinking about this, and I'm pretty good at not doing EMDR and going to therapy, and just like having so much to say that obviously needs to be processed and dissected. And my therapist kind of keeps reminding me that I have those tools. Um, so I've really been trying to challenge myself lately, and she's asked me, okay, well, why are you here? And I'm like, well, to build skills and get resources and process my trauma. And she's like, you have the skills, and you're good at using them, and you have resources. I'm like, do I know them though? And I think that it's just really easy to I'm scared, who wants to go back into traumatic memories? It's so much easier to like get high about it or watch TV about it, or eat ice cream about it. You know what though? At least I'm not drinking and doing hard drugs about it anymore, because that's what old Ashley used to do. So, now I do like more, less harmful ways to numb my feelings. But, I'll admit that I still do because they're intense. Play Dead says, same, all or nothing right this moment. I get too antsy holding on to an idea. Yeah. I'm like, either this happens now or never. Somebody else mentioned black and white thinking earlier. And okay, Alicia, gotta love that black and white thinking, all in or all out. Yeah, that is That's me to a T and sounds like a lot of us. Kat said, don't lose that Spitfire. Your intensity is authentic self. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's hard sometimes not to just be like, well, fine, I'm gonna go be in my corner in a corner alone because that's what's easier. And if I reject other people first, they can't reject me. Right? Um, do you have a hard time being in your body more or your mind more? That depends on the timing. So my panic attacks were very psychosomatic. Like when I have an anxiety attack, it generally is one thought leads to another, that leads to another, and then all of a sudden I'm spinning and, it's like, and this bill doesn't get paid. So then they're going to cut that off and then blah, blah. And like, that's an anxiety attack. It's not so somatic. And again, my experiences, it's more of like this racing thought process where a panic attack is almost all physical sensation. I can actually be in my mind and be like, okay, you're having a panic attack. What do you do when you have a panic attack? Well, you've had hundreds of these. You do X, Y, and Z and write it out. And I'm actually going to tell you guys what X, Y, and Z is, even though it's a little not safe for work. Okay. Sophia says it's a decision to stick with the better choice at every crossroads. Yeah, and it's something else that's been interesting this week is realizing that I left AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, because I felt a lot of shame there. And so I've been thinking a lot this week about shame and how survivors get shamed so much. And I'm just like you said road, so and better choice. So I'm thinking about kind of like trolls and people who are unsupportive, and I'm trying to take more of the high road. But yeah, I hope that's what you're referring to. If you weren't, sorry if I misinterpreted that. And Kat, back to your question. Yeah, like it depends on the time. So my panic attacks, I am really lucky. I'm really lucky to have a psychiatrist who knows that I have a history of addiction and realizes that I'm sober and in recovery and that I have panic disorder. Because I've had panic disorder since I was 16, and I didn't get diagnosed with it until I was in my mid 30s. And I was actually and I think a lot of people experience this when they get a diagnosis. I was like really fucking angry that I had seen so many medical professionals, psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists, medical doctors, and nobody ever said, "Oh, you wake up from sleep sometimes and just throw up for 6 hours and then you have," like, nobody ever said, well, first of all, nobody ever said that was a panic attack. So for people always said, "Oh, panic attacks, that's just when for like 20 minutes, like they usually last 20 minutes and your heart races a lot, and you can't breathe and you think you're going to die." I do experience those things during panic attacks, but my panic attacks last for like 4 to 7 hours if I'm unable to treat it with a benzo. So like my doctor and I decided that Xanax wasn't a good choice for me because Xanax, it's, it's kind of like a street drug, like a lot of people. I think it's definitely used recreationally more than other prescription benzos. And benzos are addictive. And in most 12-step programs with most sponsors, you you wouldn't take benzos because you're not supposed to take mind-altering substances. So, like, I wouldn't, even if I didn't smoke weed, I'm pretty sure that would be a no-go by most group and sponsors standards. But if I don't have medication, my panic attack will last 4 to 6 hours and I will be sweating, heart racing, muscles tense, intensely nauseous, hard time breathing, throwing up. So I didn't know that was a panic attack. I just called them like my weird freak out periods because sometimes I would go through months where things were really stressful. And I would get oh, that looked really sexual. I would get panic attacks every day for like a month on end or something. Kat said Xanax is a short acting benzo, whereas other forms are longer acting, meaning you don't get as high as quickly. Therefore, the reward center of your brain doesn't crave other benzos as much as Xanax. Yeah, so that's something my doctor and I definitely talked about. It's like, okay, well, you have a history of addiction and you have panic disorder. So let's not give you Xanax that does that. And just because it has that reputation of being a recreational type drug, I don't want to be on that. So I'm on Valium and I'm on a very low dose. And because I'm in intensive therapy, I take a low dose every night. And then I have them for also when I have panic attacks. So now that I have benzos, now that I'm prescribed Valium by a doctor, when I get a panic attack, I can usually get rid of it within 20 to 30 minutes because I have this like magical little pill that goes into my brain is like shh, with a fire hose. It's like, stop being on fire. And then my brain's like, are you sure? Because I think we're dying. And then it's like, okay. So I'm gonna tell a little bit more after I go over some more comments. Hi, Poet. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life is learn how to say fuck it. If you haven't figured out, like, hit me up because I have way too many fucks to give. And like in some senses, it's really good because I'm an empathetic person who is passionate about like helping others. And in other senses, it's hard because there are definitely times where I should give way less fucks. But we're all here just working on it, right? I love the vibes and connection between you and Marilyn as a team. Aw, yeah, me and Marilyn need to go live again soon, but maybe not till next week because I'm getting to that. Oh, I am like cliffhanging y'all today. I was doing EMDR a few sessions and I loved it and it helps so much, but it got expensive. Yeah, you guys, therapy can really be expensive. And that's why I always say, like, if you have access, I highly recommend it. Fallon is on here, who is my co-host and on That's So Fucked Up. And we're going to be doing our first live That's So Fucked Up recording this Friday at 2 or 3. I think it's 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Let me know if that's correct, Fallon. But I believe it's 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Friday. We will be live streaming our first, well, it's the 168th episode or something, but it's the first one that we're live streaming. So that's very exciting. But hi, Fallon. She says, love that you're talking about this. Yeah, me too. It's really important. Play dead. Back to you. What you were saying is back to what I was saying is that and why I thought of Fallon is because she works with Medicaid and Fallon. Just you know what Yep. Okay. What do? You work with Medicaid people or something. 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, nailed it. On Friday. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people don't know that they might qualify for free health insurance. So definitely, if you're not somebody who is rolling in dough, if you are, TSFU the podcast, no, patreon.com/TSFU, if you are rolling in dough. But if you're not, Fallon said, I work for a Medicaid plan as a marketing and communications director. We should cover this someday. Yes, I love that. No, we absolutely should because I would fucking 100% not be able to afford therapy or medication if I didn't have insurance. And I would not be able to afford insurance if yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of people I think that that service actually gets pretty underused. So definitely look into that. And Fallon and I will definitely do an episode on that one day because it is super important. And we want people to have as much access to mental health care as possible and just regular health. That's also super important. I just I use my insurance a lot more for the mental health benefits. Poet says the VA has offered me antidepressants on more than one occasion. I always refuse. Don't like taking pills. I'd rather smoke weed, which I tell them. They don't bat an eye these days. Yeah, so that is totally fair. I know a lot of people who don't want to take medication. I didn't want to for a long time, and it was it was because I was like, "Fuck big pharma. I'm not going to be your slave." And then I was like, I'm not gonna depend on something to alter my mood. And then I realized that I was intensely alcoholic and that I was just self-medicating. So I'm a big fan of Western medication. I love it. I'm also a fan of yoga and breathing techniques and mindfulness techniques, which I know can be like a hot button word now because a lot of Western cultures and groups have taken Eastern philosophies and like super westernized them. Teal Swan, Twin Flames, etc. I'm talking to you motherfuckers. Yeah, so I smoke weed and take pills. Ew, party. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend self-medicating with alcohol. Again, these are all like hi Dr. Ashley, who's definitely not a trained professional opinions, right? These are opinions. And yeah, so I know some people who like aren't into it. I am. I'm like all for utilizing all of the tools I can find. But I think really people should do whatever works for them. And like I talk about coercion and religion a lot. And that's something I'll continue to talk about a lot, coercion in religious and, cult like groups. But um Peggy is so sweet. She just texted and said, Ash does really good live. Thank you, Peggy. See, I'm like squirrel. You guys, I totally forgot what I was talking about. If somebody Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Sophia said, "I found CBD gum very helpful." Yeah, so, you know, what whatever works for you. Oh, the reason I, brought up coercion in religion and in cult-like groups is because, that's where I have a problem with those groups. If you're just, like, being cool and not hurting anybody and you're finding community and purpose and answers or whatever in the community that you're in, even if it is a little bit culty, that's okay, you know? I think I don't judge anybody, whatever they wanna do, whether it's CBD gummies, smoking weed, taking benzos, going to AA meetings, going to church, like, I don't give a shit. If that's what makes you happy and gets you through the day, I'm all for it, just as long as you're not hurting other people, and if I see that somebody is hurting themselves, in my opinion, if it's somebody that I care about and that I feel that can take that feedback, then I will say something. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for stopping by. You guys, Jennifer, Ego Next Door was on Marilyn's channel the other day. They talked about, I think, narcissistic parental abuse. Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, And actually, I had a pretty big realization today, which is that my mom has been love bombing me my entire fucking life. And I like talk about cults and coercion and control all the fucking time. And I'm like, well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose my mom with narcissism, but I do believe that she probably is a narcissist, and I even said that I've apologized to her on the channel already, and I probably will do so again, like, because that's one of like, that's one of our trauma responses sometimes is to, like, feel bad for our abusers. Like, okay, let's see, my mom has gone through a lot of trauma too. She's also a very damaged person, and that doesn't excuse her behavior or the things that she's done. But also, when people have personality disorders, I'm trying. I'm trying. um, uh, it's I don't yeah, it's hard when like somebody has a personality disorder. That's so much easier to say though, right? When it's not like I can say that to somebody else all day, like, oh, fuck them, that's not okay, blah blah blah. Um, it's just harder. I think I'm sure a lot of us know that it's harder in our yeah, we do need to talk. Yeah, hit me up. um so oh look, Play Dead said I have a great therapist for Medicaid though and a good psychiatrist as well. So that's awesome. Yeah, highly recommend therapy and psychiatry if it's at your disposal. And me and Fallon will definitely talk more about how you can hopefully get it at your disposal if you don't have it. And like Fallon said, it's so hard when it's your own situation. Um, yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna move on because I didn't mean to get that deep today. Um, so um I went to therapy today and I was like, yeah, I've had 2 panic attacks and um I've had 2 panic attacks this week and I don't know why. It feels like very out of left field and um in my therapy, I have talked about resourcing, building up resources and stuff that help you navigate like once you go doing that harder work, when you're diving into the memories and stuff, you have to like build up resources first to be able to navigate that. So I've done a lot of DBT, which I talked about in a separate video, and I will actually I'll just do its own video about it because it's a really amazing form of therapy, and it's a lot about building skills. So getting my train of thought back, building skills. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of resourcing for quite a while. And today, when I went into therapy, I was like, I think we need to dissect this or that. And she was like, I think that she let, I mean, obviously she does let me dictate my time, but she says, okay, well, I just want to remind you that we did cut down from 2 days a week to 1 because we felt like with the 2 days, I was really just kind of like wiggling my way out of stuff. So she's like, well, it's up to you how you want to spend your time. And, you know, why are you here? And I'm like, well, to build skills and to work through trauma. And she kind of reminded me that like, well, we've done a lot of the skill building and I think you have a lot of the skills. And I remembered why I was talking about this. One of the things that we've done in my work is called parts work. And it's where it's a type of therapy called IFS, internal family systems. And it's where you recognize that every version and age and whatever of yourself that you've ever been lives within inside you. And we have different parts that are, and again, I'll do better research and either bring somebody on or have like a plan to talk about it. But you have managers, firefighters, and exiles. For me, my firefighter was alcoholism. That's the one that's just like, alarm bells, put out the fire. So drugs and alcohol were an amazing way to do that. So my firefighters were like a big part. I have one main manager part that I call Stacy, and I feel a little bit crazy sometimes. So I'm being really vulnerable with you guys. Yes, Peggy. 48 minutes later, you were going to tell us your XYZ for de-escalating your panic. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, I promise that I'm getting to that. Hi, thank you for keeping me on track. And my exiles, one of them mainly was like my inner child because that was like a good way of protecting her. It was just putting her in a dark closet. So my manager, Stacy, has been super duper busy this last week. She's like, oh my God, YouTube is such a cool way to connect with new people and reach a new audience and blah, 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 blah. So I've been like balls to the fucking walls. And then today I was like, I don't know why I'm having these panic attacks. And she was like, well, how are you feeling about doing EMDR today? And I was like, silly. And then I just like started sobbing and I was like, I don't know why. Like I'm like so stressed out and I'm feeling like I'm not good enough or like I'm too much and all this. And I've had panic attacks this week. And she reminded me, thank you, Peggy, for bringing me back around. She reminded me why I have panic attacks sometimes, what we've come to realize about my panic attacks is that sometimes when Stacy gets really busy, the other parts of my system are like, hello, alarm bells, you're not taking care of us. And I think it's like kind of the same with depression. I think that it can be your body and mind's way of just being like, hey, fucking stop. And if you won't listen to the little cues that we're giving in the background that like, oh, you're feeling tired and extra sensitive and blah, blah, blah. You're not listening to those little cues. So we're just going to fucking full on blast. Here comes the alarms. And I feel like it's happened in both ways throughout my life. Either I'll get depressed, which just forces me to stay in bed and like watch TV and do nothing because I'm like, oh, I can't. And you guys probably know that feeling. And I think that's my system's way of being like, bitch, sit the fuck down. Okay. And I think panic attacks are the same thing because they're really physically debilitating. Thank you, Play Dead. You guys are doing being a great audience with your participation and support. So I think that, and that's why I said, I'm talking about this for better or for worse today. I don't know if we'll see whether, sorry, I think we'll see tomorrow morning when I wake up. If I have a panic attack, it's probably a sign that I shouldn't have done this tonight. And if I don't, I'm going to take it as a sign that it was a good thing. So I will let you guys know. Because, yeah, I think the panic attacks have been happening this last week because I've been just like pushing myself too hard and just kind of getting myself too riled up. So, Peggy, here it comes. How do I de-escalate my panic attacks? So like I said, I've been having panic attacks since I was 16. I'm 36, if you guys can believe it. So for 20 years, I've been having a lot of them. And so over time, I've realized what works. And one of these is going to be not safe for work. It's so funny because I'll talk about like alcoholism and trauma and stuff, but then I'm going to talk about something sex related and I'm like, ooh, taboo. And then I'm like, also maybe it's because I have sexual trauma that is not yet worked through. So that's like harder for me to talk about. I don't know, whatever. And like, obviously I'm still have like a trauma responses to stuff. So like, like I said, I'm not a professional. Please don't take me as an authority. I'm just sharing my experiences when I go, I don't know, whatever. I know that my brain is kind of getting overwhelmed. So, Valium, finding a doctor who could see that I have complex trauma and that I have panic disorder and trusts that we have a trusting relationship. He knows that I'm not abusing it. Like if I started saying, hey, I don't feel like that dose is working, can we triple it or something? Like that would be a pretty good indication to him that maybe I'm abusing it. But I never have. So he's never not trusted me. So I have a really good relationship with my therapist and my psychiatrist. And that, getting the proper diagnosis of complex trauma and panic disorder, and then, getting the right kind of therapy. EMDR is really effective for trauma survivors. And when I say the right kind of therapy, I mean, for me, it's obviously not one size fits all, although a lot of people have shared in the chat that they had really good experiences with it. So that's also something I'll talk about on its own video, like DBT, EMDR, therapies that I've used and stuff. So a good therapist and a good psychiatrist, a type of therapy that works for me, and a trusted therapist are kind of like what I do to try to preemptively manage my situation. And then I know that if I don't, Alicia, if you know what I'm getting at, I'm going to love it because my boyfriend was like, babe, I don't think that's going to be that big of a weird secret to everybody. And I was like, I don't know. It's a hot take. So we'll get to that. But so when I didn't have benzos, I had doctors like who didn't trust me because I have a history of addiction. So they gave me like a fucking heart medication. They tried to like treat the physical symptoms. They gave me anti-nausea medication, a heart medication. And I'm like, no, literally my brain is on fire. So that doesn't work. So that's helpful. Number one. I am pretty neurospicy, and I think a lot of us in this clonidine is like Valium. I believe they're in the same category. Let me just double check that because I do not get that wrong. Clonidine, that's a sedative that treats blood pressure, can also treat ADHD and cancer pain. No, so I don't think I was put on that. And no, that doesn't sound like a benzo. So, oh, they're both benzos. Okay. Nope. Sorry. Clonazepam is a benzo. Clonidine is for hypertension and ADHD. Okay. So clonazepam is a benzo. Clonidine is a sedative anti-hypertensive drug. But it definitely didn't help for panic attacks or whatever I was on. I think it was called propranolol, which is like a heart medication. Like I said, I'm pretty neurospicy. I know a lot of other people who are neurodivergent. I think with the amount of technology and just the pace that we go and stuff today, that it seems like it could just be kind of more normal today, you know? But so really bright lights, super loud noises, especially if they're like conflicting. Like if somebody's playing music too loud and somebody else is talking, I'm like, ah, or like intense overhead lighting. I'm just very sensitive to things, to my environment, sounds, temperatures, um, uh, uh, feel. Like it. I have to wear like the comfiest clothes all the time because I have to be max cozy. I have Christmas lights up in my ear, up in up in my room year round. And when I relax in the evening, I put the Christmas lights on because I have a whole thing. Like, first of all, overhead lights like never go on. Fuck those. It's lamps. And then I have like a dimmer lamp and I'll like dim it throughout the evening. Like I'll just be like boop boop, okay, boop boop. And then when it's like almost sleep time, then I just put the Christmas lights on because they give like a really red and orange and blue and green actually are all relaxing colors. And those are generally like Christmas light colors. So it actually does textures and that's what I was saying, textures, thank you. And the wrong light frequency can be really triggering. Yeah, I walked into like an old roommate's room once and I was just like, oh my God, it's so stressful in here. Like I can fucking cut a knife through like how it was just like the overhead lighting, and he didn't have like a bed frame, and this was a long time ago. I mean, it was just like very bachelor style, but I was just like, do you even know how much this is probably mentally like affecting your mental health without without you even knowing? So also, yeah, textures like is big. So I just try to like keep myself, except for my coffee addiction, which is counterproductive, but I just try to like keep myself kind of comfortable and like at a lesser level of anxiety. And then these are also the things that I do when I have a panic attack. So, like, okay, this morning, woke up, I was like, fun for 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm really nauseous. And then, like, my stomach hurts. And then I get really hot. Um, and then I threw up. And so I smoke marijuana for nausea. Um, that is why that was like a big part of the reason they originally were prescribing it to cancer patients. It's because chemo was making people really nauseous, and indica generally um, is helpful for nausea. And you can look up strains of weed that are helpful for different things. I'm not saying like start smoking weed, you guys, but like look into it. It definitely has medicinal benefits. So I do that to try to kind of like deal with the nausea. Then I always try to have bubbly water or ginger kombucha in my fridge just because I know those will settle my stomach. If it's dark, I will put my Christmas lights on. Or even if I just like draw the shades, I'll usually put my Christmas lights on because they're really soothing. And like I make sure that I have like a comfy blanket next to me, just like soothing textures. I have an app on my phone that has guided meditations, like some are for anti-anxiety. I actually used to use those a ton. Um, like I really felt like I needed to hear somebody like talking me down. Whereas now I'll put on usually like rain because I find rain really soothing. I'll put on rain or relaxing music. And then today, like I was doing a grounding exercise that my therapist taught me and making fun of her in my head while I did it. I was like, I'm Ashley Love Richards. It's Wednesday. The year is 2023. I'm in my house. It's safe in my house. And then I was like, okay, count everything around you that's blue. Okay, how many things around me are green? And then I also realized that like blue, green, and brown are the only fucking colors in my bedroom and that I should probably diversify it a little bit. Um, and here's the spicy part. So, masturbating and or orgasms release like feel good chemicals, dopamine or something. Uh, no, now I just really want to look it up really quick because I don't want to get it wrong. Mm-mm-mm. Endorphins and oxytocin. They're feel good hormones that activate pleasure centers in the brain that help stave off anxiety. Jennifer. So I guessed it up there. Tis what I guessed. Yeah. So you had guessed. I'm not gonna lie. I like legit thought you meant like pet a cat. And I was like, oh yeah, I just like I don't have one. I love cats. And like how good would dog cuddles be? Oh my gosh. Um wow. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, if you have a cat or dog around, I would highly suggest like um, just like petting them in a just petting your animal or cuddling with them would be awesome if you have one. But yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I bust out my vibrator. And I'm not I it's if if I was I guess if I was gonna just say it's because like I just fucking love getting off and masturbating, like I would probably be more I'm definitely less open about talking about my sexual life, and that's my prerogative. I have sexual trauma, and everybody has a right to their story and can fucking tell it or not when they want or never, whatever. Um, so I don't really feel comfortable talking about sex, but I will say that there are health benefits. And when I'm nauseous as fuck, having a different sensation to focus on that feels good is really, really fucking helpful. Um, like I'm not like, cool, I'm having a panic attack. Right now would be a super time to like get off. It's not like I'm like trying to fuck my boyfriend in the middle of a panic attack, you know? It's like it's literally because endorphins and oxytocin are released, which activate chemicals in your brain that make you feel good, the pleasure centers, and help like literally helps with anxiety. So Peggy says makes perfect sense. Right? Yeah, which is why I was like, whatever, fuck it, I'm gonna say it. And Barb said, pretty sure we're the only species with a clitoris. So there's that. I feel like this would work for men too. I'm not a man. I don't have a penis. So I have no idea. But it works for me. Staying focused though. Do you struggle? Well, literally I'm focusing on counting shit in my room. What's green? Like I'm not focusing on masturbating or like getting off, you know. I'm focusing on also like I will like feel the texture on my bed and stuff cuz just like grounding yourself, bringing yourself into the present moment and place, grounding exercises like counting what's in your room, affirming who you are and what date it is, and stuff like that. Just bringing you back to the moment, making your body know that you're like in a safe space, and the alarm bells like don't need to be going off. It does work for men. All right, guys, hot take. That's for you too. Oh my God, interesting. That's why many people, regardless of their genitalia, use sex as a coping mechanism. Okay, I just don't like yeah, you know, that's interesting. After my traumas, like I could never really like be with a stranger. But I do know, you know, a lot of people when they're like depressed or after a breakup or just whatever, some shit is going down, like I think that connection with people, but also like sex feels good, right? So yeah, that's I had a panic attack this morning. That's what I did to make it feel better. I went to therapy. I tried to say that we couldn't do EMDR because I needed to like process things. And then my therapist was like, but do you? And I was like, we got to build skills. And she was like, don't you have them? She's really nice. She's the fucking best. Like, I'm kind of making her sound like a bitch. She's just like very fucking sweetly honest with me. It's like, are we ignoring? And then yeah, went into EMDR and it was a really good session. It was like one of the first times I went into EMDR and actually started thinking about like one of the traumas that I'm trying to process. And because I'm an all or nothing type of gal, my brain was like, well, let's just fucking go into this too. And I was like, she was like, hey, maybe like let's reel it back and not go deeping, like let's not dive to the bottom of the ocean right now. And I was like, okay. Um, but yeah, so it was like an emotional session. I cried a lot, realized that like of course the root of everything is shame. So I really want to like start reading or watching some Brene Brown again, but I'm like doing like Alicia said, thank you. Nice self-care plan. I'm doing enough right now. Like I'm going to go watch TV after this cuz like obviously my body is like, bitch, chill. Um but I don't know. I think that it's like probably, maybe, and like I said, I'll find out tomorrow. Good to like process this stuff a little bit further and just share whatever I can with you guys about my own journey, because I do think that me talking about it helps me. And, I love to know that you guys are feeling seen and validated, that you're not alone. Um, Shame is my worst enemy. Alicia, Barb, darn shame. I know. It's fucking bullshit. Jennifer just finished watching Twin Flames. The plot twist killed me. Okay, you guys, that's like a whole other fucking episode that is coming soon, but like maybe next week again, because I think that my panic attacks are signaling to me that I have too many shiny squirrels that I'm trying to like catch at once. And but I do really want to talk about Twin Flames. They are awful. If you guys haven't watched the documentary on Netflix, there's one on Amazon Prime too. Although I do like the one on Netflix a little bit better. It has a friend of the show, Dr. Yanya Lalick, in it. She explains bounded choice and moral injury. And I feel like it's annoying if I don't define those right now, though, too. So bounded choice is like when you're in a coercive high control group and you do things that, like, essentially a lot of people become perpetrators because you do things in the group that are that everybody else thinks and what's expected and how everybody else behaves and stuff. And so that's bounded choice. You're doing things that to the outside world seems crazy, but to you, it's your only options. And moral injury is the fact that when a lot of people do become perpetrators in high control groups, when they leave, they don't only have to deal with the trauma of the things that they endured, but the guilt and shame about the things that they perpetrated on others just as a product of being a part of that group, So, but she says it better because she's an expert. I'm not. So highly recommend that documentary. Definitely we'll be talking about that soon because they are using pretty classic cult tactic manipulation tactics. They're kind of doing a hodgepodge, if you will, but in like the scariest way. They're using the Bible and they're like, it's weird. They're doing like fucking prosperity gospel shit, like bragging about how rich they are and but making everybody else give them all their money, which is very cult like, but they're coercing people into changing their genders because there's too many women in their group. And they're like, well, how do we solve that? Oh, we'll just make half of you be dudes. Like, it's not people's exciting choice. And then they're also using like a lot of Eastern philosophy stuff. I'm just like, wow, what book are you guys not borrowing from? They're borrowing from all of them. Pushing for people to identify as genders. Yeah, like, so it's we got too many ladies in the group. So, Alicia and Ashley, why don't you guys get together? Ashley, don't you want your name to be Dan? No, I'm not really feeling that. Well, I don't know, because I really think that your name is Dan. And if you don't think it is, then you're not embracing your masculine energy and you're going to hell and you're going to be alone forever. It's insane. And this guy, like, not to diminish anybody's experience at all, but he just like looks like the biggest tool. Like, just hearing him talk and looking at his face makes me want to break my TV. But I do highly recommend the documentary. It's really, really, really important stuff. Who's the dude in this relationship? Which relationship? Oh, ours. I I don't know if I'm more divine masculine or more divine feminine. I would say feminine, but sometimes I get a little aggressive. That might be considered masculine, right? Or it just means I'm a bitch because women always like, oh, it's like if you're like intense, you're a bitch or whatever. Nobody called me a bitch this week. I want to make that clear. I just got my feelings hurt. So new AG trends put in a blender with the same old bullshit. You called it, Sophia. So guys, I'm gonna talk. Stop talking. If anybody wants to like jump in with any questions or comments before I jump off, awesome. If not, that's cool too. I'll just wait like 30 seconds. In that time, I will check some of the comments I missed. Your mind needs rest too at the right stimulation level, just as your body does. Thanks, Sophia. I think I'm going to take a bath after this, actually. Self-care, you guys. Oh, also, when I travel, I make sure that I have like a soft blankie or my teddy bear, Christmas lights, believe it or not, or fairy lights but I really prefer Christmas lights, but fairy lights will do. My benzos, my vibrator. When I go on a trip, I make sure that I have all the things that I know will help me feel more comfortable if I have a panic attack. And yes, your mind does need to rest, and I'm going to absorb that information. This is talk therapy for you and chat therapy for me. I think it's chat therapy for a lot of people, which is awesome. Let's chat about it together. I am watching Twin Flames. Yes, I'm down. Let's do it. Yeah, so I think that. Oh, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Narcissistic parents, Twin Flames. Yeah, hit me up. Yeah, and you guys, let me use my cool banner power. Jennifer was on Marilyn's channel recently. You guys, make sure to like this video, hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and go over and subscribe to Marilyn because she is awesome. And I really was inspired by how open and vulnerable and conversational Marilyn's streams were. So, thank you, Marilyn, for that. I'm just finding you, Jennifer. At Ego Next Door. That's easy. Boop. Yeah, so Jennifer and I have some things in common. An obsession with twin flames, and yeah, girl, we gotta talk. I have a heart. Narcissistic parents. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you guys for holding a safe space for that vulnerability. That's not always the case, especially on YouTube. So thank you guys. Marilyn said somewhere that she's making dinner. That's why she's not in the chat, but I lost that. But I hope you have a good dinner. I just got HelloFresh, so that's gonna force me to try my hand at therapy. To try my hand at cooking. Oh, there's Marilyn. Still listening and cooking dinner and approving all the naughty posts. Yes. Masturbation for the win. And I know Marilyn does look hey, innocent people like to pet their kitties too. I think that's really funny that I really didn't get that. I was like, "No, I love cats. They're awesome." Um, ba 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 da, 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 da. How did you find your guy who is so accepting of all my I don't know, I got really lucky. I was alone for like most of my life. I think I was like in a relationship for a total of like 5 out of 15 years between 20 and 35. Like I was a really a lot single. And then my boyfriend is cool and he's had to do some therapy to himself to learn how to deal with me and read some books and stuff, which is, you know, it's really awesome definitely to have that kind of support cuz it's really hard understanding people with complex trauma. Like sometimes we seem like we're just wild um and sometimes we are, but we can't help it. Marilyn is awesome and cute and badass. I love Marilyn. We got a Marilyn fan club here. Kitten tickles. Thanks for the courage to even do this channel. Yeah, thank you guys so much for letting me. I really wanted to have a space to share some of this for quite a while, and it just doesn't super fit in always with my curated content. That's So Fucked Up the podcast. Please go listen, you guys. It's on YouTube. Also, subscribe on any of your favorite platforms. I put some pre-made pumpkin from my favorite farmer in the oven for dinner. That's so cool, Sophia. Like you have a favorite fucking farmer and then you like farm to table your shit that you cooked. That's so awesome. I'm like, I made macaroni and cheese tonight. Babe, there's peas in it. Nailed it. Okay, right? Actually, I really want to do like a cooking segment where I have people suggest what they want to see me make. And I'm really bad at cooking. So, like complex stuff, I think would be pretty funny. Um, and then I'll do a cooking show for you guys, but it would just be me like kind of running around with my head off in the kitchen while I talk to you guys. So throw up throw up a high five hand or a heart if that sounds cool and exciting to you. The most harlot wrench carrying wench I know. That's Marilyn. You're not a terrible mod. You come to my live streams and you've helped me mod. You're awesome. And you're in my fan club. So I love you. Poet's also been cooking. I've been making dinner, baked barbecue chicken and french fries. Yum. You guys are ahead of the game. I had a smoothie for dinner last night because I just have weird eating habits. As a product of anxiety, I will say also that can like fuck with your appetite, you know? Loved the Nursery Rhyme podcast. Yay! You guys, I'm doing a segment on my podcast called so many segments. Fairy Tale Fuckery. And it's going to be going on all throughout this month and a little bit into next month. And the first episode was the origin of fairy tales. It's pretty crazy. Next week, we're going into the origin of Disney princess fairy tales. Like, so not the Disney-fied version, the gnarly versions. It is crazy the stuff that is made for kids, you guys. Okay, I think this is about the cooking show, so I'm excited. Oh my god, that would be great. Hands up. Ashley is hilarious. You need to talk to Reese. Thanks, Barb. I don't know Reese yet, but yeah. hand waving. All right, you guys, that's like 5 people that are begging for it, essentially. So I got to do it. Let me know what you guys want me to cook. It's probably not going to turn out great, but I think it'll be entertaining. Oh, I'm making low carb General Tso and fried rice, but with cauliflower. Whatever, Marilyn. Stop bragging on my channel. This is just some chat amongst you guys, but I'm going to read it. With one me to cook for, I need to treat myself good sometimes. Better than a bologna sandwich. I'm watching Ratchet right now, rewatching because I love to rewatch. That's also a thing with anxious people. They love a rewatch because they know what the fuck is coming. Hands up if you feel that one too. What's wrong with bologna? Oh, anyways, why I said Ratchet is because my queen, Sarah Paulson, is in it. It's Nurse Ratched's origin story from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I'll tell you guys one day about how when I was in the mental institution for a little stint, how I was definitely the Jack Nicholson of the place. Yeah, so many stories to come. And we got some hands for, I forgot what I asked you guys to put hands for. See, I lost my train of thought because I was talking about Ratched. And basically, she tells this lady that Bologna, I think she calls it Bologna or something. It's really funny. She's like, it's my favorite food. It's perfectly nutritious. And I enjoyed it. I may sound like I'm bragging, but I could stand to lose a whole Ashley. Just saying. Hey, listen, I'm not going to have body shaming in my chat. You guys, none of you are allowed to be rude to my friends. So yeah, I don't stand for that here. Kind of obsessed with that farmer stuff. And she's got Highland cattle. I love that. Like, I love that Sophia is going to farms to get her shit. That's like, I buy my milk from the local dairy. And I've heard that I've looked into it and they say they treat the cows well. So I thought about visiting the farm and I was like, okay, what's that show? Okay, Portlandia, settle down. So I did some online research and Ratched is so visually stunning. It really, really, really is. Speaking of blue and green, like I was saying, is like my whole room, like the whole thing is like blue and green and pink and red. It's amazing. I love you too, Marilyn. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for coming and being so supportive. I'm definitely taking a risk talking openly about my trauma and healing, and it can go really wrong for people. Unfortunately, the internet can be super duper fucking mean. So hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, but so far the viewers that I've had have been so amazing and so supportive, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys. And let me know in the comments what you want to hear more about. I'll definitely do a video about EMDR. I'll definitely do a video about DBT. And just let me know what else you want to hear about. And I'll be doing more with Marilyn soon. When Peggy gets her YouTube channel up, I'll be doing stuff with her. Jennifer, Ego Next Door, and I are going to talk about twin flames and narcissism, and those definitely go hand in hand. So, you guys, thanks so much for listening to me babble about my stuff, and I hope that it was helpful for you guys, and I'll let you know next time I stream, which will be Friday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. Friday, we'll be doing our first live recording of That's So Fucked Up, the podcast. And I'll just started off by panic attack check-in. Did it happen or not on Thursday? Actually, I'll probably just come back to the comments of the video. So check back in with the comments. Knock on wood for no panic attack tomorrow. But I do strongly believe that my body will let me know. So yeah, that's, oh my God. Ego Next Door, you have 195 views on your episode 5 of your podcast from 3 days ago. What? That's hot, y'all. That's hot. She's on fire. Go subscribe. There she is. There's her banner. It's still up. And then also subscribe to this one. And if you've come out of a coercive group or know anybody who has, you should check out the hashtag I got out. It's where a lot of cult survivors come together. Unsilenced Now on Instagram, they are taking down the troubled teen industry. I have a video with Meg from Unsilenced. It's an interview from a couple days ago. If you guys want to check that out, she is amazing. Or unsilenced.org. If you want to see more about the podcast, find my Discord or my Patreon or more about me. You can do all of that at the website. So tsfuthepodcast.com. You can email me at tsfuthepodcast@gmail.com. You can find me on all the social medias at tsfuthepodcast or at Ashley Love Richards on Instagram, where I also do a little beauty sleep with Ashley thing where I put little quotes up of things that I say in my sleep. And I talk a lot in my sleep too. So I'll probably do a video one day where I just play you guys recordings from my sleep because it's fucking really weird to listen to. It's kind of creepy. It's a trip. I should really hit these apps up because I really want to talk about them more, but I'm like, ooh, sponsorship. Yeah. So, anyways, I definitely, the purpose, of me coming and talking about my trauma is absolutely not to make money, but, indie podcasters and indie creators do work really hard. And when I say that, I'm talking about Marilyn and Jennifer and our friend Michelle and, all the creators that entertain and educate you are generally working for very little to no money unless they're on a huge network or something. So I don't have a link to my Buy Me a Coffee, but I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/TSFU. For as little as $5 a month, you get all of our episodes ad-free. There's a segment where I learn about the Bible called Ash Learns the Bible. 2 of my friends break it down for me chapter or book by book, and that's a wild ride. Also, you got a keychain and stickers and a little note from me, and yeah, it's a great way to support. Also, I'm going to add a $2 support level, and I will figure out what my Buy Me a Coffee is. If anybody just wants to do a one-time donation to buy me a coffee or a bubbly water or a kombucha. I drink way too much coffee. I'll find that link and put that in the comments too. So thank you guys so much for being here. This has been so awesome. Poet's going to have dinner. Jennifer is blowing up on the YouTube. So let's talk for all the reasons. And yeah, okay, you guys, have a good night. Bye.